Miranda Wiles has been a CASA volunteer since 2015. She says children are her passion.
I knew that I had to become a part of the organization to help children everywhere.
When Wiles started volunteering with CASA of Lexington, the nonprofit was only serving Fayette County.
I worked with Melinda and our county and city officials, and we were able to expand into Bourbon County. And then from that, we have been able to expand. Now we're in 7 counties.
Now CASA volunteers work to make a difference in the lives of hundreds of kids in central Kentucky.
To me, CASA means hope. It gives children an opportunity that otherwise would not have a voice and are often unseen in our communities. And unfortunately in Kentucky, we have a lot of them.
Miranda serves as a board member for CASA of Lexington. She won the Governor's Service Award for volunteering in 2020, but her service to children doesn't end there.
When I look at how I spend my volunteer time, it's typically helping kids, whether it's my own 2 or a leader with 4-H. I work with youth in my church, the backpack program in Bourbon County. You get out of life what you put into it, and I feel like you have to work to make the world a better place and to do your part.
She hopes that her service will impact the next generation.
We're changing our future and creating new stories for children that otherwise wouldn't have that story.
And make a permanent difference in the lives of those she serves.
My real hope is that every child can find a safe, permanent home and be loved and be in a safe environment.
You too can make a difference in the lives of children by becoming a CASA volunteer. We've got a link to the volunteer application in this story on the WKYT News app.